Introducing a game-changing innovation in corrosion control technology for the fire sprinkler industry. Vapor Pipe Shield from General Air Products is a patented UL-listed vapor phase corrosion inhibitor delivery system that is fully mechanical and piped directly in line, making corrosion mitigation in any dry or pre-action fire sprinkler system efficient, easy to install and maintain, and highly cost-effective. General Air Products is proud to bring the most effective means of corrosion control worldwide to the fire sprinkler industry.
Like and subscribe.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast. I am back with Ray Fremont from General Air Products. Ray, how's it going today?
Going very well. How about yourself?
Oh, so good. If I was any better, there'd be two of me.
I'll borrow some of that energy.
Yeah. Well, the go into the real sting. No, let's just get into it. How are things been? It's been a little while since I've had you on the podcast. We've been talking for about a half an hour now. But how are things going at General Air Products right now?
General Air's doing great. We've had a lot going on the last few years. I've been developing a lot of new product, which is exciting. We've been doing a lot more education, and our training center's been doing awesome. We have lots of stuff going on in there. So it's cool. It's kind of a new page for us with some of the things that we're getting involved in, and it's exciting.
Now, is it a training center or is it a bar that you guys train in?
Well, we cater to our clientele as best as possible, that naturally led things to, after a wonderful suggestion, I always blame Jim McHugh from AGF for this. He's like, you should put a bar in there. And I was like, you're right.
I mean, good ideas are good ideas. You can't knock them, right? Yeah. Awesome. I've seen a lot of pictures. I've seen the pictures of, the maps of where all the customers are located around the thing.
Yeah.
One of my buddies was there a couple of weeks ago and he took a picture and was like, hey, I noticed you aren't on the dot here in Canada. And I was like, I sent you a text and I hope it's rectified now, but we'll have to see.
It's funny that you say that because I saw this on my calendar today and I messaged over to our marketing group and I was like, hey, have we updated that thing yet? And I walked through there today and one of our guys, Micah, was actually sitting there with the map updating everything. So I can assure you that this has been corrected.
Awesome. Well, make sure you show the other podcast guys there, the Dope and Tape guys, if you guys don't listen to them, when they come in, just point and say, hey, what's up?
Yeah, right on. I'll do that. Yeah, they'll be in late next week. So that's
awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Awesome. So what we're going to talk about a little bit today is the new Vapor Shield that you guys have out.
Yes.
It's been out now for a couple of years. We've been kind of lining this up for a little while now.
Just a year now.
Just a year. Okay. Well, geez, that's not bad. I'm not too behind the ball on things now.
Not at all. That's why I wanted to make sure you knew, it's not, you're on top of things.
So as far as the usage goes, how are sales going? How is it being accepted as a new technology in the industry?
So, I mean, I really thought there was going to be a lot more of an adoption period. We set goals for our first year and we met them. And they were kind of aggressive goals. So we have, as we're sitting here today, we're approaching about 300 installations for the first year. So, we're well past the beta phase, the guinea pig phase. We're into, things are moving and it's exciting. Like I said, it's really, really fun to be a part of this from a manufacturing point of view. Like this is cool to, because we've been developing it for like 5 years and all the testing and everything that we've done to kind of get to where we are. And then we got our UL listing at the end of 22. December of 22 is our Christmas gift from UL. And then it was a Christmas gift we paid for, but it was a Christmas gift.
Those are the best kind, the gifts you buy yourself.
They did a great job with it and everything. And then we got it at the end of December of 22. We had a few weeks to kind of gear up, a few months. And I think we really started as far as sales went was March of 23. So we're at a year and we're at just about 300 installations, which is just awesome.
Wow, that's pretty good for a completely new product in the industry, as everybody that's listening and yourself is concerned. Things in sprinkler, new products in sprinkler typically take a little while to catch on. It's as in the past, say 10 years, as leaps and bounds as this industry has jumped, it still takes a long time for people to jump onto those new ideas. And this one being such a new idea, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to see that it is being accepted the way it is.
Yeah, yeah, and I think rightfully so. I mean, given the nature of our business, protecting life and protecting property, we have to be very conscious about this stuff. I knew, we kind of experienced this when we put out our quiet air compressor, probably going on 8 years ago now, maybe even longer. But everybody was like, "Yeah, I'm interested," and then they were like, "Just with a quiet air compressor," they're like, "Well, I'm not sure yet," and and stuff. And I was just like, okay, and then it got rolling, and then everything was good. So we kind of based our expectations off of. And like I said, we decided to get a little aggressive with it, and still met those. And again, with a new corrosion technology, or I should say at least new to the industry.
Right.
And I think that's something that really helped overall with the adoption is that people could see that this was, we try to demonstrate, and people understood that this was a technology that has been around for over 40 years. It just hasn't been the fire sprinkler one. So, when you get that standpoint, and, fortunately we have a good brand, and we have good business partners and our distributors and stuff. So the people who go out there talking about it are people that understand, what we're doing here and how exciting it is to share it with.
So let's kind of talk a little bit about that, like where it came from and how you guys, I won't say, it wasn't, say, an invention by General Air Products, but more the application. So
yeah,
where did the technology come from?
So the technology, vapor corrosion inhibitors, VCI is what it'll be referred to as it goes into NFPA. It's going in NFPA 13, and basically one of the things we spent a lot of time with this year was creating equivalency with nitrogen, and we'll see that kind of finalized at NFPA this year. But the start of it, vapor corrosion inhibitors, was post World War II. The U.S. government was looking for ways to protect all of the things that they had built during the war, right, from corrosion. So they used dry air, they used nitrogen, high purity nitrogen, and they used VCIs.
Okay.
At that time, this VCI wasn't available. Like, that technology was new at that time in the 1940s. The government developed a test for it and all that kind of stuff. The U.S. military test for it to validate its, how it works. And then over the years, people have used them for a variety of different applications. So the company that we work with, who's based out of Minnesota, they came up with the exact product that we use in the late 70s. And they've been using it to protect a lot of shipping containers, the metal inside of a shipping container, whatever's being shipped. They use it for a lot of, there's a lot of applications for it. There's one where they were protecting the that I talk about in the presentation. It's called the Severn Bridge in the UK, and they have this. It's a suspension bridge over a body of salt water.
Yeah.
And this was the one that really made us kind of think about this being a really good use in fire protection. You have the cables over saltwater, so obviously a bridge is going to be corroding and stuff. So one of the ways they combat that is painting it all the time, right? And they say, okay, well, we're painting this seemingly a lot. We want to try to find a better way to do it. So they encase the cables in pipe, right? And then they started piping in the VPCI through, I believe, a blower system at that point to kind of keep it coated with the VPCI. And now, granted, it was the pipe was open at both ends, so it wasn't exactly the same, but it was still getting the coverage and the constant piping of the VPCI going into the product. And again, we call it VPCI. VCI, VPCI, they mean the same thing. VCI is kind of like a broader term. VPCI is more close to what we use. But anyhow, they have this piped in, and we're like, okay, they're piping this into a pipe, and then it's protecting the corrosion in that, even in an open-ish environment. And it was working very well there. So that had us say, well, we'll try it here. And we built a little rig, and we bought some of the product, and we set it up, and we say, okay, well, that's working. Let's talk to these guys, So And then that started a couple year progress of developing it. But yeah, so there's a lot of application. Packaging is a big part of what they do. Trying to think of what else then they do like oil and gas pipelines and stuff. They do that as
Right.
well. So there's quite a bit of applications. One of the things I'd like to say is that you've probably already been around this product. You've probably already used it and you just didn't even know.
So how does the technology actually work to prevent corrosion in sprinkler systems? In our application, which is sprinkler, how does it actually work to, can you use it in an existing system that's prone to corrosion? Will it stop it? Or is it it's not a Band-Aid, but is it like a stop future corrosion? Or is it like a new installation type of application?
No, new or existing is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I always try to answer this question probably a little more in depth than people want, but with an existing system, an existing system is such a broad term to use, right? Like existing can be, the day after it's a year old. You know what I mean? It's a year and a day old. It could be the day after the AHJ, signs off on it. When it becomes a 25 system, right? An NFP 25 system. Now it's existing. And it can be 5, 10, 15, 20 years after that, right? And the amount of corrosion you see in that amount of time has a big difference as far as, how effective any corrosion solution is going to be, right?
Right.
If you, I try to say, like, if you, I think it's just important for everybody to understand none of these things are miracle cures.
Right. Yeah.
For really corroded pipe. If you have a piping system that's mushy when you touch it because it's got so much corrosion in it, I don't care how much nitrogen, VPCI, dry air, whatever you put in there, you're still going to have problems.
That's right.
And I hate setting the expectation because I saw it so much when we were working with our nitrogen stuff, and we still are. But when we're working with that, people just kind of imagine you plug in this fancy blue box and all their dry system problems go away. And that's just not how it's going to go, right? And we should all know that, but not everybody kind of does. They hear what they want to hear. So when it comes to existing systems, certainly there's a threshold for effectiveness for any products, right? With that understood, this product will work as well or better than any existing solution on an existing system or a new system. Absolutely.
Okay. So walk me through the whys. Why do I take this system and apply it to a new system that I'm installing? I'm installing a new system into a freezer. What does it do to stop the corrosion from beginning at the beginning of the installation?
Well, right there, I would tell you, with a freezer system, I really wouldn't put a corrosion solution. I don't think you're going to really need a corrosion solution in a freezer system.
Yep.
And that's one of the, I appreciate you asking because it's one of the things where at General Air, like, we're not experts in everything about sprinkler systems, right? There's a lot of guys who know a lot about, yourself in one of them, right? You know a lot about fire sprinkler systems. We know about everything that comes before the dry pipe valve. You know what I mean? Like that's what our focus is on, right? And then we learn a little bit enough to be dangerous after that. And one of those things is that, in a freezer room system, you don't really see a lot of corrosion because again, it's already frozen. Right?
Yeah.
So so there shouldn't be much liquid water and stuff. So in there, we would prescribe a dry air pack, which we've been using for 25, 35 years now, somewhere around there.
Okay. And maybe the freezer application was a bad example. Let's say
a parking garage.
Parking garage. Perfect. Yeah.
That's a real good one, right?
Yeah.
So with a parking garage, if I got a new parking garage going in, you have a system that's exposed to the elements. You have a system that's not going to be, depending on the parking lot. We've seen parking garages, that are attached to hospitals and airports and things like that are very well attended from a service standpoint.
Yep.
And then you have other ones that are just kind of standalone and oftentimes they're very neglected. So you see a lot of different things there, but so that means that the amount of corrosion taking place in there can be substantial. Another thing that is that because they're all made out of concrete, it's tough to pitch things properly in there in a realistic way. You know what I mean? If we're just being real about, I'm sure when people are designing them, you can put the appropriate slope and everything. But then, a guy gets into the thing and that's not going to work, and all of a sudden they're working around and you're getting these low points that are catching water, right? And trapping water in there that is causing a significant amount of corrosion. So that's so by putting a corrosion mitigation solution, and I would highly recommend Vapor Pipe Shield for it, you're going to create an environment in there where the vapor, these molecules that are the VCI molecules, what they do is they're going to attach to the inside wall of the pipe.
Okay.
On a molecular level, right? You're talking about something you're never going to see. These things are, I was actually just going over it today. They can be measured in nanometers.
Okay.
Which a nanometer is a billionth of a meter.
Oh.
So they're right, so they can be measured in that. Like it's like 400 nanometers or something like that.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Primarily American audience. I understand the meters, but 3 feet.
Did you see how I adjusted on the fly?
Thank you. Yeah, I do use feet and inches, but a yard. Perfect. There you go.
Yeah. There you
1
go.
billionth of a yard.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a billionth of a yard. It's probably right about there though.
Yeah.
But yeah. but yeah, so we what's it called? They'll every time the air compressor runs, it's installed in line after the air compressor. So every time the air compressor runs, we're putting VPCI molecules into the system.
Okay.
Those molecules then attach to pipe. They're electromagnetically attracted to metal. So they'll attach to the inside of the pipe in a single layer. They don't bunch up because they repel other VPCI molecules and they repel water and anything that's kind of in there in the piping already. So whether there's rust or whatever, it's going to find the part of the pipe. Because again, it's not looking at the pipe like we do. It's looking at the pipe on a molecular level. That's why I speak to how small these things are, these molecules that are in there, because you need very little of it to actually work. Mm-hmm. And it, like I said, it'll attach. Even if there's rust and sludge and stuff, the sludge, it might take a little bit longer to get through, but it's still going to get there in a very reasonable amount of time. And then for the rest of the pipe, like a new system, I mean, we've tracked this getting through new systems in 10 days with a purge valve on it and 20 days with no purge valve. And that's another cool thing about this product is you don't need a purge valve.
Right.
And I'm a big fan of not using purge valves. Less holes in dry systems is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. So,
right. Yeah. So it creates a barrier between the water, the moisture in the system and the metal itself.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, at that point you could say what's inside of that pipe, how much of the water inside of the pipe is actually touching the pipe is zero.
Okay.
Which is cool. It's a 1 molecule thick barrier. It's not like we're coating this in a powder or anything. Like you'll never see it.
Now, one of the things that you hear from people is because there's people, it's a new technology. You're going to get competition that's talking, looking at your listing that you guys have from ULC, no SDS.
Yes, we are now ULC listed.
Yes, ULC, yes. ULC listed. Looking at all this paperwork, no SDS sheet is required. So it's not a carcinogen. It's not hazardous, anything like that. Why are people saying that an RPZ is going to be required on a system with this? Is it just a matter of trying to talk negative about a new product?
No, I don't think it is. So there's a line in the IPC that says that any additive to a system will require the use of an RPZ. And that's kind of all it reads, right?
Okay.
So, we looked into that. Again, we get a lot of, let's call it feedback from some competitors. And we try to recycle that into something positive, right? So it's like, okay, let's look at what needs to be addressed there, right? Certainly that would be an obstacle. Now there's a lot of systems out there that already have RPZs on them. So that it doesn't necessarily concern me at this stage, even if it had to be. But when I ran it by some of the people that we work with on this, some consultants in the industry and some other people who know a lot more about RPZs than we do, what they were explaining was, well, it's not like yes, is it the letter like the strict reading of the code would say that, yes, but no one's telling everybody to put an RPZ on because of the cutting oil during a fab process.
That's
No
an
one's
additive.
saying about the oil vapor from an air compressor. I mean, these are all additives that go in
Yeah.
there technically.
Yeah.
And no one's
The
putting
cutting oil would
RPZs
be
on.
to a greater extent.
Say again.
The cutting oil, you could argue, there's more
Right,
cutting oil in a
absolutely.
sprinkler than anything else, right?
And there's all sorts of coatings that a manufacturer of the pipe puts on to
Yep.
protect from things, and those aren't requiring RPZs. And then you compound that with, I'm trying to find the thing here, but it says from UL, they have a very specific thing on that RPZ. Scenarios pertaining to release into potable water via backflow device and release into the natural environment are not relevant for this product.
Right. Yeah, I see
So what
that
they're
right
saying
here.
is that this isn't even going to be a part of that scenario, right?
Right.
So that's where you get this kind of conflict. Like, okay, like I understand, and I'm not going to say it was just entirely malicious. You could use that if you wanted to justify putting an RPZ in. And
Yep.
but what I said was we try to come at it from a very rational point of view. The things I just described, and then we kind of hand over this information and say, I believe that any rational thinking AHJ or anybody who would kind of enforce that would look at this and go, yeah, no, I got it. We're good. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And in the instance they don't, you're going to have to put an RPZ on, I guess. I can say out of the 300-ish installations that we've had so far, we have had none of that come up.
None of the
And I really
requirements
don't
of
expect that it
adding an
will.
RPZ.
That's right.
Okay, awesome.
I mean, again, it might be more information than you were looking for there, but I prefer to get into these things. I want everybody to know what I know.
That's
I
what
want
it's
to be an
about.
open book on these things. What's that?
Yeah, I don't want you to give me partial information. That's why I do the podcast. I want
I
everything.
don't want to. Yeah. I want to lay it all out there. To me,
Yeah.
I want to show everybody all my cards here and just tell them what we're doing and just help everybody make the best decisions that they can make for their air supply.
For sure.
And ultimately, it's sprinkler systems.
Yeah. So what do you see the next steps for this vapor shield being? Like, do you see it being, obviously it can't be an additive. Can you use it on a wet system?
Not this product specifically, but we'll be cooking something up and hopefully I'll be on your podcast between now and then, but we'll have something cool for wet systems. I think it's in development now. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. You can't say too much more.
Yeah, no.
Stay tuned.
But I wish we were further along, or else everybody will start asking me. All the people who listen to you will be like, you mentioned that on Chris's show. You got that? I need what next week?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to say people aren't going to ask anyways now. You'll probably get more questions about it now. Well, we're working on something. I can't tell you what it is or how it is. Everybody's going to ask now anyways.
but ultimately it's using VCIs, but a different type and in a different manner. So so we're just running our testing on it. Actually, it's a great product, and it's something that's been used in a ton of even more similar applications to fire sprinklers. So I expect that's going to go really well. And then on top of it, there's already a UL standard for that.
Okay.
For wet systems. So it won't, that time won't take long. So I really am looking forward to having that out soon too. That'll be a really interesting, another fun product for us to have.
For sure. Yeah. You guys seem like you're coming up with new stuff, kind of pushing the boundaries for what you guys want to come up with as far as corrosion resistant air supplies and the residential storage tank and pump, which is kind of been the fan favorite, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, everything comes back to the air compressors. That's our core thing.
Yep.
And then we've had an industrial side of so General Air is my family's company. Going back, me and my brothers are running it now, and we're the fourth generation. So going back to the early 1930s, when my great grandfather started it and everything, and he started with designing like boiler systems and all sorts of things like that. And eventually we got into a lot of industrial equipment that involved both air compressors and fluid pumps. So when the 13D stuff started coming up, 20 some years ago now, we were just like, well, we already got the pump sitting around, like we could do something with that.
Yep.
So Yeah.
So what came first in fire protection from General Air? Was it the air compressors that came first for fire protection and then you moved into the pumps, or was it kind of like a mutual?
It was the air compressors. Actually, it was kind of cool. They were doing these designs. My grandfather was a engineer, and he would do mechanical system designs, right? So boiler systems, blower systems, some sort of HVAC. I mean, all sorts of stuff. I actually just went through. Next time you got to come by our place. But I just found a bunch of old hand done drawings from him from the 1940s and 50s. I'm gonna get them all framed and everything because I just think they're so cool. But they were for these systems that he designed, and we found one, the earliest one we could find, that references a fire protection air compressor that he designed.
Oh, cool.
I think it's just talking about the belt guard that he designed for it.
Okay.
But it's from the early 1960s and stuff. So we know that they were doing their own. But what happened was he was doing these system designs for buildings, and all of a sudden he started seeing that there was requirements for mechanical equipment for this dry sprinkler system, whatever that is, right? So he's like, oh, I'll offer an air compressor or whatever. And then he started to learn more about what they were. And it's like, well, if we tweak this air compressor a little bit, we can make it work better in this application. And that's kind of what kicked it off in the late 50s and early 60s.
So those patents, I got room for a General Air compressor's first air compressor
right on
my arm somewhere. I can fit that on there.
Good stuff.
I got some real estate left. I can fill it in. Awesome.
Yeah.
Where are we going to see you the next conferences for this year? Where are we going to see you this year?
Well, like I said, I decided to make the trek to Hawaii because my business calls on me to do the hard work sometimes, and
sometimes you got to sacrifice.
That's right. You got to make sacrifices.
It's rough, man.
I'm going to go to Hawaii and present at the NFSA conference out there. I'm excited for that. We're doing a lot of road shows and stuff. We've been I like going in front of an audience and talking and getting feedback from people. That's really why I like it. I hate standing in front of people talking, but overall I like to hear from people like, hey, this is what we saw and there's no better way to do that. So we're doing we got Atlanta at the end of this month. We're doing DC. Not long after that, our training room website has a lot of listings. But the other cool thing we're doing is at the NFPA show, Jeff from UL, Jeff Heavenstraight, who we worked with for our listing for VPCI. And like I said, it was great working with him, and the people at UL are really great. And he had said, we want to talk about these new UL listings, the 2109, I think it is. Let's see. Sure. Well, the 2901 A and B. So A is for wet systems, B is for dry systems.
Okay.
For corrosion inhibitors. And he's gonna talk a little bit about 2901 overall, and then he's got a gentleman from Huguenot who's going to talk about 2901B or A, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about 2901B.
Awesome.
So that's another cool thing. That's going to be a little different, and I'm excited for that too. So, yeah.
Yep. That'll be a good one. I'll be at those ones. I'll be at NFSA.
Awesome.
Fortunately, I'll be at NFSA. Shoot. The CFSA in Vaughan, Canada. That's
and that's right. We're going to be at that as well. I won't be there, but I think my brother's going. So
okay, perfect.
I'm looking forward to that too. Yep.
Yeah, that'll be a good show. NFPA, and then AFSA in Denver. Denver?
Yes, it is in Denver
this year. Yep.
I'm doing a presentation at that. And I'm also doing one. We're going to do one of our road shows in Toronto this year.
Oh,
so we're gonna, we're doing something with National Fire there. I think the day before they're doing something cool. Out there, inviting some customers in. I think to the Blue Jays Stadium. So that's kind of cool. And then the day after, we're going to do our roadshow thing. So we're going to do a live thing there in Toronto.
Cool.
So again, if you go to our training room website, we'll have all of these dates listed out and everything. People can register. It'd be great to see everybody there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll list the website here and I'll put it in the notes at the bottom. If anybody wants to go, they can click directly on that link and get going to it. Well, let me know when that show is at National Fire there. I'll reach out to Sean and are you dealing with Sean about that?
Yep, absolutely.
So I'll reach out to him and see what's going on. Maybe I can scam my way into the stadium. The Sky Dome is what it used to be called. It's different now. Rogers, I think, but the Sky Dome when they opened it is what it was called.
I got mixed feelings when Joe Carter hit that home run in the '90s. That was the end of my childhood. That was my
93.
favorite Phillies
I
team.
think it was 93 was the last time.
Yeah, it was
Blue Jays.
93.
Yeah. Sorry.
Heard Steven
Not
talk
sorry.
about that. Yeah.
Awesome. Ray, always a pleasure talking to you. Sorry the
back
Blue
at you,
Jays
man.
dusted you guys. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you a lot this year. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Hey everybody, the Laying It Down for Camp Bucko fundraiser is still going on. The donations have slowed down, but the hoses have not. This sea can is starting to get filled up. These are the ones I just unloaded from the trailer. Those are the ones that were sitting here since last year. These are all still sitting here from last year. We're looking to get donations rolling in. In addition to those hoses that I just showed you, I still have a picture that I'm going to insert right here of all the fire hoses that are still up in Pickering, Ontario. Thank you to the Toronto Social Housing for donating 95% of these fire hoses, as well as everybody else from Southwestern Ontario and Ontario for donating hoses. But let's get those donations to roll in. The link is posted below. $20 a hose. Let's get some money in. Let's support Camp Bucko. Thanks, guys.